Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Five Star Zone. I'm your host, Rico Beard, and man, oh man, oh man, was it a busy week in the Big Ten. It's a lot of stuff that I want to get to, but I think, how can I put this? The biggest story we all know happened throughout the week. Now, let me check my notes, because here's the thing. I wanted to really come out and talk about what happened at the University of Michigan and Chiron Moore. The problem was this thing was ever evolving like a kaleidoscope. It went from something so ridiculous to, I remember hearing the breaking news in my ear during my show with Mike from 2 to 6, and it was like, it was breaking news. I'm thinking Tarek Skubal's been traded from the pitcher from the Tigers. It's like, nah, Sherrone Moore's been fired. Huh? What? All the rumors. Look, let's face it. We've all heard all the rumors of everything that was going on with him and the inappropriate relationship he was having with his staffer. And a lot of that I just kind of dismissed as, yeah, I'm not really buying into that. Yeah, you know what? That's internet rumor. Wasn't internet rumor. Not at all. It actually was true. It actually became pretty almost tragic as when Chiron Moore woke up that morning, I'm quite sure he didn't realize I would be spending the night in the Pittsfield Township jail cell. He didn't think that he wasn't going to be going home to his warm bed with his wife and his 3 kids. No. Instead, he got fired, left. Now, the timeline's still a little screwy. Some of the stuff ain't mathing. But the way it looks like he got fired and immediately may have gone home, got put out, went over to the girlfriend's house, the side piece house, grabbed some butter knives, threatened to kill himself in front of her. And then he leaves and eludes police. Then he goes and police get him. And they arrest him, and then he goes under psychiatric. He's under psychiatric watch because he tried to kill himself. Then the next image that you see is him in a white jumpsuit, sitting so solemn as he's getting arraigned, and he posts a bond and he goes home. But this story is just ridiculous because I guess this is why you can't always dismiss internet rumors, because sometimes the internet rumors are true. As far as Moore goes, his coaching days at Michigan, let's face it, he was done. He was fired because of that. Now, what's going to happen with Ward Manuel? Well, the university is now being audited, the entire athletic department, because of all the different infractions that have happened, especially all under Ward Manuel. I don't know how Ward Manuel has a job. And honestly, while I'm taping this, I was a little afraid to tape it because at any moment he could lose his job and this becomes obsolete. So just know that as taping this, Ward Manuel somehow or another still has a job at Michigan. Let that sink in through all the different controversies. Let that sink in that, you know, the co-offensive coordinators from the 2022 Michigan team both have been arrested. And Matt Weiss and Chiron Moore. Just let that stuff sink in, and yet this man is still the athletic director. As far as Moore, he's done, and I don't even think that he's pretty much toxic. I mean, guys, let's face it. We were about 5 minutes away from a white Bronco driving down I-94. That's how it looked, with Connor Stallions is playing the role of AC. I don't think that this man will ever coach again. I don't know what's going to happen next to him, but just to show you how weird things are with this story. So this morning, as I'm preparing, there's actually, it was like the whole, he was going on, he was, DMing OnlyFans models. So one of the models comes out and says, no, for a foursome. And she was like, no, he never offered me a foursome, but we did talk a lot and we did DM, and she went to the championship game and said he did invite me back to the hotel and said I could take pictures with the players. But hey, she says she paid for her own stuff. Oh, okay. But then it got even weirder. According to her, After getting out of jail, he contacts her and just is like, hey, what's going on? Really? Sherrone, get your life together, man. Let me steer your path clear. There's some free advice your lawyer probably should have given you. Take your phone, put it in a baggie, take that baggie, and go throw it in the river. And just leave it alone. Whatever Connor Stallions, whatever lake he put his phone in, you go put yours in there as well. Because you don't need to be talking to any more women. Not about only one woman you need to talk to. That's your wife. And hoping maybe you can fix this, which I doubt, but that's the only one. Because you shouldn't be talking to some OnlyFans models right after you got out of jail. It tells me where your mind is, man. And your mind doesn't need to be there at all. Now, like I said, I was just blown away watching that. And you can see, I'm not going to give her any free publicity. You guys got the Google. You can figure it out. You can watch the video for yourself. But yeah, that's what he did right after. As far as Michigan goes, now you're looking for a new head coach. Over the weekend, it was Kenny Dillingham from the Arizona State staff. I thought he was going to be on Friday. I actually thought he was going to be the coach over the weekend. He's since come out and says, hey, I'm staying there. Kalen DeBoer, the coach of Alabama, he's come out and says, hey, I'm staying there. Jedd Fisch was always the name that I thought would be the perfect fit for Michigan. But here's the problem, because Jedd Fisch, coached under Harbaugh. The passing game was probably flourished under Jedd Fisch. But the problem is this. If you're Michigan, do you want to break ties from the whole Jim Harbaugh era? Because let's face it, you won a title, but man, it came at a cost. And, when you have at least, I think 4 or 5 staffers arrested and other people I think the final count, I want to say was 7, but some were low-level staffers, but for various reasons, whether it was drunk driving, whether it was trying to, having inappropriate relationships and then trying to unalive yourself, federal crimes of having a bunch of girls' information on your computer. There's so much stuff going on there. I don't know if you want to go back to that era. I don't know. Maybe you want to, maybe you want to leave the whole Michigan man thing alone for a little bit. Now, what does that mean? It means that you may go back to the days of Rich Rodriguez where you bring an outsider in, but maybe you need an outsider just as that course correction, just as that man who straightens things out and kind of gets you back on the path of where you are. Look, I think Jedd Fisch would be a slam dunk hire for Michigan, but I don't know if you want to go that route. Plain and simple. He could bring people with him from Washington. Heck, even if Bryce Underwood leaves, he could bring Damon Williams with him, and I think that you would actually improve your passing game. The only other problem is this. Let's say you want to hire Jedd Fisch, or let's say you want to hire somebody else. Who does the hiring? Because as I stated, as of taping this, Ward Manuel's still the athletic director, but it looks like speculation is he won't be there. You don't have a president. You may not have an athletic director. Who the hell does the hiring? Who the hell actually steps up and says, this is it? Who is anybody listening to? Which then leads to this option. I thought it was a joke because a buddy of mine brought it up, but maybe not. Maybe the answer is right there. It's Biff Poggi. You just have to stick with him as an interim coach for a year, give him a test trial, see what happens. I guess people will stay there. He can maintain the staff. And if it works out, you stumbled upon something. If it doesn't work out, then you can go ahead and fire him and go and do a proper vetting and bring in a coach. But you may have to write off a year because there's nobody there. There's nobody there to do the hiring. It's the weirdest situation. Look, I never thought that I would see a day like this, but that was a weird few days, plain and simple. From Moore to now, the investigation within the athletic department, to, the board of regents going after, between Jordan Acker and Tom Mars and the tweets going back and forth between them. Look, it's a hot mess in Ann Arbor. You may need to not rush this because I get it. with the portal opening up on this January 2nd, you want to have an active coach. You want to have somebody who can go out there and get some kids to come to Michigan. But this may be something where maybe you take this time to really fix the problem, fix what's happening there, and then you can go back to being the leaders and best. Because right now, you're the leaders and best at being a hot mess. You're the leaders and best at being an embarrassment. That's what you're the leaders and best at doing. Like I said, this story just gets stranger and stranger and stranger as we go along. All right. A little bit of good news in the Big Ten. Big Ten has their first Heisman Trophy winner in a long time. Fernando Mendoza, quarterback from Indiana. Indiana is the number one team in the nation, and he won the Heisman. And, he beat out Diego Pavia. And Diego, man, take the L, man. Take the L, don't drink, and hop on Instagram and tell everybody F you because they didn't vote for you. You show some class. He came out and apologized later. Don't go on social media and drink. I can't tell people enough. It's almost not as dangerous, but it's career killing. It's like drinking and driving, except for that's actual killing. But this is career killing. Yeah, you're going to have a lot to explain to NFL reps of what happened that night in your bender. But let me get back to Fernando Mendoza. He wins the award and goes up there and gives a great speech. And honestly, I voted for him with my Heisman vote that he was the best player. I had him, I had Jeremiah Love, and I had Julian Sands as my number 3 vote. And I was going into the Big Ten championship game saying, hey, it's going to be between Mendoza and Sang, whoever gets my vote. Mendoza went out there, got the game-winning drive against Ohio State's defense. And I was like, okay, that was the selling point. That was the Heisman moment for me. He gets it. And it was funny because Sunday night I was watching this 60 Minutes special on Indiana football and just how it's changed. And then John Mellencamp, he looks a lot older, but man, he's been a supporter of Indiana football for the longest. He built them a practice facility. And it's just strange because when you think about it, think about this, guys. Here's the evolution of college football. 1 and 2 in the Heisman Trophy votes was a quarterback from Indiana and a quarterback from Vandy. This is why schools have pressure on coaches when they get there. This is why you're not allowed 3, 4, 5 years to turn your program around. Because you have, whether it's Cignetti or whether it's Clark Lay, they turn their programs around. They flip them. And that's what you're looking at other coaches to do. You're allowed about 2 years. That's why Michigan State parted ways with Jonathan Smith, because after 2 years, you were regressing, and you can't just go backwards. Not everybody's going to be Cignetti. I've said this many, many times on this pod. Cignetti's going to get a lot of coaches fired. Cignetti came in with a fire and a passion that I don't know if anybody can duplicate. But he was just saying how he looked at Indiana when he got there and was like, okay, the banners looked old and dusty. The offices looked like something out of the 80s. Everybody around this place looks all down and defeated. And he had to come through and change the culture mentality of Indiana football and all the people around it. And he did that instantly. He brought his own people in, and he set forth a blueprint that Indiana now has. Everybody's waiting for them to fall. They're not falling. They went from being a playoff team, a flash in the pan, and everybody said, well, they can't do it again. Not only did they do it again, they did it again with style, flair, and panache. They did it as the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoffs. They did it by bringing in yet another transfer quarterback, and this guy winning the Heisman. He's on cloud 9 right now. If you're a kid, think about this. You're thinking about going to Indiana to play football, not basketball, to play football. Yeah, he talked about how there was nobody's in the stands, and his first day he got there, he was like, F Purdue, and what about you at it? F Michigan, and F Ohio State as well. And he said, I did that to see if my fans were even listening, to see if they were awake. And after that, he started building upon that. I mean, like I said, I look at Indiana, and I'm just like, this thing, this may turn into being something. I don't know. They $90 million. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. Indiana football has become a threat, and that's why other coaches are not going to be given a short leash. Whoever Michigan hires, you're Michigan. You got to hire somebody who can come in there, hit the ground running, and keep this thing going. You're not allowed. You're allowed to maybe have one bad year, and that's it. You can't have two in a row. If you are, you get packed up. You're like Jonathan Smith. That's why Pat Fitzgerald has to come in, hit the ground running. Speaking of Pat Fitzgerald, he comes in and, it looks like he did something that a lot of Michigan State people really were looking forward to. Now, nothing's been said officially, but it looks like, according to his bio on X or Twitter, Max Buller's leaving Notre Dame to become the DC and the linebackers coach at Michigan State. Now, why is that important? Well, that's important for a couple things. One, Max Buller kind of brings back the glory days of MSU. Max Buller brings back the days of D'Antonio. Max Buller is a tough guy. And a lot of pros really like what Max Buller does and how he teaches. And he appears to be a star in the making. And for Spartan fans, he's one of yours. You've watched his career at Notre Dame. You watched him as a GA at Alabama. He's learned under some great coaches, whether it was Nick Saban, whether it's Marcus Freeman. And now he's back here to be the co-defensive coordinator at Michigan State. He's somebody that, look, in the day and age of the transfer portal, he can walk into the meeting. He can walk into the game before Michigan and explain to them why this game is important. Why? Because he played in the game. He knows the hate. He knows the passion. He's from Traverse City. He knows everything about it. His family is born and bred Spartans. You kind of need that if you're Pat Fitzgerald as somebody to be that, almost that big brother, or just that the guy that could be the stern, hey, this is what being a Spartan's all about. Pat knows, he read, he saw, he talked. Max Buller lived it. He bled it. He knows everything what it is to be a Spartan. So that's why it's important to bring Max Buller back. Like I said, nothing has officially been done, but it appears that is the next hire for MSU. It looks like they're going to be bringing in Max Buller. Also, looks like Michigan State is about to hire a defensive line coach. He is the Arizona Cardinals D-line coach, Winston. Oh my God, I think it's a French name. Let's just call him Winston. But it looks like they're set to hire him. He's 27 years old, rising star. He played under Joe Rossi at Minnesota, and they're going to be bringing him in as well. Nothing is official yet, but they're getting that staff together. Now, as far as I think the biggest name is who's going to be the OC, who's going to be running the offense at Michigan State, and that's where we're all waiting to see who Pat Fitzgerald hires. I've heard some rumors out there. I think it was Nick Sheridan was the big from Alabama, and he's the co-OC at Alabama. That's one where, we would have to wait and see if he comes there. But, yeah, Nick Sheridan coming from Alabama, one of the rumored names. Now, granted, he played at Michigan, but, guys, you got to remember this. Where you played and where you work are two different things. I don't think Spartan fans, he's going to come in to become a spy for Michigan. If that's the case, then you would kick Sadi Washington off of Tom Izzo's staff, because Sadi, coached at Michigan through the Beeline era. And those were teams that kicked Michigan State's behind. So if that's the case, I think you may want to just power it down and you may want to see what's happening. But I think it'll be okay. I think it will be all right. If you're Michigan State, you're waiting to see who the offensive coordinator is, because I think that's the most important thing. You want to make sure that you can get the offense going, get kids engaged, and score the old-fashioned touchdown play. That thing has been missing for a long, long time. So I wanted to touch upon that. Also, another couple things happened over the weekend. One, I don't know who's been paying attention, but we're going to be getting to this a lot more as the days go on. College hoops, man. The best team in the nation may be residing right here in the state of Michigan, and it's not a Tom Izzo-led team. They're good. They're really good. But the Michigan Wolverines are putting up 100 points like just Oprah giving away Christmas prizes. Like you're going to get 100 scored on you and you're going to get 100 scored on you. Maryland was the latest victim to get 100 points scored on them, 101 to 83. As a matter of fact, here's the funny thing about that game. Maryland actually had the lead 50 to 45 at the half. Maryland shot a ridiculous, let me get this straight, 14 3-pointers. If you shoot and make 14 3-pointers, you normally win a game at home. If you score 83 points at home, you normally win a game. Not when you're playing Michigan. Michigan put an end to that. Yaxel Lindeborg is a machine. Best decision he ever made in his life was to not go into the draft and take Michigan's money instead of the NBA's money, because this kid probably elevated his draft stock. He's probably going to get picked higher in next year's draft. He's on pace to become the player of the year in college, and Michigan right now is rolling. They struggled at the beginning of the year, but then they went and played in that tournament in Vegas, and they caught fire, and they have not relinquished that fire. Dusty May has this team rolling. Now, do they have some deficiencies? Yeah, they turned the ball over a little too much for my liking. But the way they can score and the way they can score with different people, it doesn't matter because they are still getting it done. Looks like a collision course maybe for January 30th at the Breslin Center against Michigan State. But right now, man, this team is humming. Now, that's my only other concern. Are you peaking too soon? Are you that dominant? Because right now, Michigan and Arizona look like the best two teams in college hoops, both undefeated. I just wonder, are you humming? Is it peaking a little too fast, too soon? Because we still have a long way to go until we get to the final game in April. We have over 4 months to go. So that's my only concern with them. But other than that, man, they got things going. Lost in all of this, too, is Nebraska. Nebraska basketball is good, folks. Nebraska's sitting there undefeated. And Nebraska, like it or not, went into Champaign and they beat Illinois on a last-second basket. And you're like, Illinois was ranked 13th, and Nebraska beats them 83 to 80. And it makes the shot with 0.2 seconds left. You may want to start giving Nebraska basketball a watch. I think that they're a team that could be in the top 4 of the Big Ten, but they're Nebraska. You kind of write them off, but yeah, I'm telling you, you may want to give them a watch because Nebraska's got things going. Nebraska is a team to watch. And finally, Michigan State, they go to Penn State and play a very sloppy game. Izzo is not happy. They go into Penn State. They have like 16, 17 turnovers. They missed a ton of layups and easy buckets. And Penn State had every chance to win this game. And if it wasn't for Divine Ukachukwu, number 99 on Michigan State, he went out there and had the game of his life, 23 points. And Michigan State needed all 23 points to win this thing. Because what I saw, I think it's the old phrase, don't let a game beat you twice. I think the Duke loss the previous weekend has still affected Jeremy Fears, still affected Cohen Carr, where their games are not the same. Fears was still struggling to score points, and Carr kind of went MIA in the game where he just kind of hung out in the corner. And if you're Michigan State, you can't have that. You need him to be aggressive. But that Duke game kind of neutered him and kind of took away all that aggression. Fears seems to be out there trying to be something that he's not. And like I said, Michigan State had 2 big leads. One was double digits, and Penn State came back both times. And as I stated, finally at the end of the game, it was 69 to 67. And that's when Okechukwu hit a big 3-pointer to give Michigan State the lead for good and kind of take the breath out of Penn State. Penn State missed a lot of shots late, and it's weird because that place is just it's a house of horrors for the Bryce Jordan Centers, for a lot of ranked teams go there just to lose. It's not like you got a crowd because when you looked at the stands, it was hundreds of people there, not thousands, but hundreds of people. But MSU played a horrible game. Tom Izzo was not happy, but he did put Divine in the starting lineup, and it paid off. As I said, They needed all 23 of his points because without him, they would have ended up getting upset by Penn State. They were favored by a lot of points, and they were favored by 13 and a half points. This is not a game that Izzo is going to be proud of. He's going to try to use this, I guess, to rally his troops and bring them back. But just something to keep a watch on. Best team in basketball is University of Michigan. Biggest surprise team in basketball is Nebraska. And Tom Izzo is just out there being Tom Izzo, as they only have one loss. The Spartans do, and that is to Duke, but they've knocked off some ranked teams as well. So just something to watch now that football season is coming to an end. Look, as more Michigan things pop up, I'll be back to try to help you cipher through this, but it's so much happening all at once. Ward Manuel, as I'm finishing up, still has a job, still don't know how. But yeah, I don't know who the Michigan next coach is going to be, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just hold on to Pogge because I don't know who can do the hiring. You don't have a president. You may not have an athletic director. You may have to just sit this year out and hit it strong next year when you actually have a unified force to make a good hire. If not, it could be a knee-jerk thing. I don't know who this person would, be held accountable to. But if you're Michigan, you have to get rid of this image that you have lately of just, man, you've turned into everything that you've always made fun of other schools at being. That's now you. Heck, when Chiron Moore and a joke about him is in the opening monologue of Saturday Night Live, that's not the publicity that you want. So that's it for now. As this thing progresses, I'll have more info. Thanks for watching the 5 Star Zone. I'm your host, Rico Beard.